Bob Davis from Ecotop. We're here at a site in Portland, and it's probably a pretty typical older Portland house that converted from a gas furnace to a heat pump, and they've had a number of problems. They're probably quite representative of a lot of houses in Portland that are going through the same thing. Good morning.
I called like 5 different HVAC installers to get bids, and like half of them said, heat pump technology is not there. Just go with your standard furnace and air conditioner. And then the others said, no, you should do a heat pump. And then one guy was able to convince us to put in the heat pump. And then of course it couldn't heat the house at all. And then they ultimately installed the heat strip.
There's a couple of things I'm interested in your house in particular, which are how carefully someone did a load calculation on your house. Well, you go into a house and you have scaled plans that actually show you the length of everything. You can actually build up the heat loss rate for all the different components in the house. Add everything up and you come up with a number which is expressed in BTUs per hour at a certain outdoor temperature, because the colder it gets, the more heat loss. You go and you select, you say, oh, I need a 3-ton system to give me 30,000 BTUs of heat at 17, just using the compressor, not using strip heat. Well, that's what you should do.
I think the guy who recommended the size of the heat pump took into account the mini split that we have going up to the upstairs.
Yeah.
But it's not a disconnected space. I mean, the new heat pump that was being put in was still going to be conditioning that space as well.
And then you have a conditioned basement?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we'll do, we'll go outside, look at the outdoor unit, and then we'll go down, so I can find the English words, downstairs, and look at the system and run a couple functional tests. Looks like a pretty standard duct system for a gas furnace. Actually, this actually looks better in a lot of cases. They have much bigger trunks without doing any specific measurements. This house is probably better set up for success for a heat pump. You do want to count the basement as part of the load. So that makes the 2-ton seem even more undersized. When you see this extra flexible metal conduit, that's going in to feed the strip. So they're right here. Strip is a slang to refer to just electric resistance elements. As the air gets cooler outside, air source heat pumps, they can't pull as much heat out of the outside air as it gets colder and colder and colder. So at some point, traditionally called the balance point, if the house is still needing heat, it'll turn on the strip heat and get the house up to temperature. The only problem with that is that the strip heat runs to an efficiency of about 1 unit of electricity in, 1 unit of heat out, whereas the compressor and the heat pump, if it's running correctly, it'll get you efficiencies of 2 to 1 or even 3 to 1. Ideally, you would have a combination of the load in the house and the heat pump capacity that would meet all of the needs of heating the house with just the compression cycle without having to use strip heat.
So it was like a multi-layered failure, because it started out with, we didn't have a heat strip. So then it was insufficient. As soon as it hit 50 degrees outside, our house wasn't heating.
We literally kept track of it, but several times, like more than 5, less than 10. And one of those days, the guy was here for, I think, 12 hours.
Yeah.
He was the most knowledgeable one. He's the one who ultimately fixed it. But it seemed to me like they ultimately fixed the problem, but the fix, of course, was simply getting the heat strip to work, which once you look at the energy usage in your electric bill, you realize was not actually a fix. Prior to the heat pumping in, it was $100, $98.
Yeah.
$98. So $100 to $370 for the same month.
Nobody has an adequate solution.
I tell everyone I know not to put in a heat pump. Yeah, I tell them the heat's it doesn't feel as warm. We had all kinds of problems.
I mean,
you can't heat the house. The technology's not there. I think I should take out the heat pump and put the gas furnace back in.
After we met with Bob and Bob came over and looked at the sizing of the unit, it became clear that too small of a unit had been put in the first place. And so the company that put in the heat pump originally was contacted. The like regional representative for the manufacturer of the heat pump was contacted and also agreed that the unit was sized too small. And then the company gave us a few different options of whether we could put in a furnace and an air conditioner or just a larger appropriately sized heat pump. And then one option we asked for, which they agreed to, was to put in the appropriately sized heat pump, which turned out to be a 3-ton heat pump and an additional gas furnace. So that's what ultimately went in, and it worked out really well.
All winter, we actually just put it on auxiliary and used the gas furnace all winter.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly heated at our home.
Yeah, we did. We still found, like, even with the right sized heat pump, we found like the gas heat was more comfortable.
But then now that it's summer, it's a really hot day today, and our heat pump is very effectively cooling our house.
Yeah, and before it was not, actually.
Yeah.
I think that before the heat pump was struggling to cool the house. I still tell everybody never to get a heat pump, or at least never to give up their gas furnace, because I still think it's superior in terms of comfort and cheaper than having a heat pump.
When was the last time you gave that advice?
Literally yesterday. Yeah. I told someone, you know, that we were going to be doing this interview today, and then I reviewed the whole saga of what happened, and they mentioned that their furnace was maybe nearing the end of its life, and I just said, whatever you do not give up your gas furnace.